Hi there. The passage that was just on the screen was one that I was going to cut and paste and send to a young man. He's in his 20s, mid-20s now, who's struggling with career choices, having some trouble finding some direction. I admire him greatly. He's been pulling himself up by his bootstraps through some of the challenges of life, and finding the road a tough one nonetheless, sometimes through just sheer chance and accident, and understandably is having a rough time deciding what to do, to go with the career that he's found, find something else. I admire his reasons as well. He's concerned about the well-being of others for the most part. It's a complicated story and the details are not necessary, but I was going to share this quote with him. But I wanted to make this video part to offer a little, to couch that quote a little bit. If you read it, it's a little more deterministic than I might otherwise like, although fate plays a role in my mind in a non-abstract way, in a more of a, I'm more or less in agreement with the idea that the chain of events in our past and the accidents of our genetics, chance, we don't decide who we're born to, which parents and families we're born into, or which culture, or which age. All of these things have a way of calculating or causing, predetermining some outcomes in some ways. So to a degree, I do believe in determinism. To that degree, I'm still, the verdict's still a little bit out for me on the free will thing, although I'm leaning towards none. But I don't want that to make that the topic of this video. It's not a free will video. What I wanted to say though was that quote, which is from Ralph Waldo Emerson, has a ring to it of determinism. That there is one venue, there's one avenue or one vocation that, one vocation. That's really what it was. Really one vocation that, one calling, so to speak, for each man or woman. Although he used the word man, but of course that covers the whole species. And I thought that even though it's a little more restrictive than I like, I think there can be a lot of different things that our innate capabilities may make us qualified and well capable of doing. I do think there is some truth to it, to the point that as we move through life, especially as we move through our teens into our 20s and 30s, if we're lucky, if we live an expansive life, life that tries to touch many areas, as many areas as possible, and as many people as possible, not that way, we will, from time to time, discover things, activities, ways of doing things, arts, work in a way that we're good at and that we also enjoy. And usually it's a little mix of both. Sometimes we find something on one extreme end, something we're really good at and we really love to do. Maybe you're like a professional basketball player that you love to play basketball and you're really good at it, you're on that end. And then of course the other end, you're not good at it and you hate it. I think that's what Emerson was trying to warn us away from. And then there's the spectrum in between. That's why I think it's not so deterministic on one thing. There could be a broad range of things on the one end, on the like and good at end. Well, what I do like about what Emerson was saying there was that as we move through life and we touch those things, we can make the choice to go down those paths. I like the analogy of flowing down the river. Maybe not so flowing is less active than I like, but maybe moving ourselves along a still body of water towards the open sea, versus trying to beat our way against obstacles that may be more about our nature than anything else. And I'm not trying to say you shouldn't do what's hard, or you shouldn't aspire after what's challenging, not in any way at all. But when you do find that thing that's your gift, so to speak, your art, may I call it those things, then going after those is like floating free in a way. Now I'll go ahead and I want to encourage my friend to maybe, because he's young, he's still in his 20s, he's not attached, he's not married, he doesn't have kids, In fact, in some ways, that's part of the problem, is that he doesn't have any real connections or much. He's trying to build all of that. But at this point, and you may see that as a negative thing, my friend, but in many ways it also gives you a chance to float in whatever direction that current, that warm, gentle current, or that open, the path of joyous and least resistance might be. Understand, though, that you may not be able to, going that road may preclude achieving other goals. You may not be able to have the financial independence that you want, or financial independence can be pretty easily had as long as your means are simple. You could be like Diogenes in a barrel, start off at that, or like Mac and the boys in Cannery Row. I mean, your needs can be simple, and you can follow that, and there's a part of me that finds that quite attractive. But you may not be able to make a living doing that, and I think it takes a lot of courage, though, to follow courses like that may be like or challenging like that. I'll use myself as an example. I'm an example of someone who touched that and didn't follow it, but it didn't lead to a bad life. It led to a life that I'm pleased with, very much so. In my early 20s, I discovered poetry. Now, I don't liken myself a great poet by any means, but poetry is something that is what Emerson was talking about. It just, for me, it's a joy, and it's ease. It's done with ease. It just flows, and it's like a warm. It's like dipping yourself into a warm bath. It's just kind of, it feels so good, and it feels so right, and it's just everything about it. It's almost, they're very sensual almost. For me, that's what writing poetry does. Now, there's no way I could make a living as a poet, and I've never tried. And maybe that's the point of this video. Maybe you're a person that maybe younger people could be in a position to give that a try. What a great thing to do! What an opportunity, especially if you don't have the obligations and you can actually do that. But for myself, I've gotten through life so far by having a day job, an avocation, and then my vocation. I hope I don't have those two backwards. One is your work, your day job, and the other is the thing that you love. And so I tend to do my day job during the day, and then in the evening I go home and write poetry and read books, and more so now than ever, and converse with my family and relax and have a couple of beers and just settle in. That's the normal course. So my friend, this is coming back to my friend. You are having a trouble. You're at this point where you're not sure what to do. I would like to just ask you to consider the words of Emerson. And ask yourself, is there anything at this point that you've touched on that has that quality to it? Emerson gives it almost a religious quality. He calls it, almost like a soul, what your soul, your spirit would find. Is there anything like that? And would you be willing to maybe consider pursuing that in some way? You don't have a lot to lose at this point. You may have a lot to gain. And it doesn't mean that you should quit your day job necessarily. You should pay your bills. You should keep your taxes keep up with your taxes. Support some charities as you can, if you can, and be a good family member, friend, and community member. All that stuff. But man, maybe you can try that out. See if there's anything out there. And if you haven't found anything yet that would really constitute as your art, maybe keep yourself open to finding that. Maybe it's out there. And whether or not you can do it full time or not, you still have it. Okay, take care. Thanks. Bye-bye. Good luck.